this. And if we haven't, we definitely know someone that has experienced one out of the three and maybe all three. So as we get started, Kate, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and where my audience can find you.
My name is Kate Semeniuk, and I'm a hypnotherapist. Have not done that for my whole life, by the way. I have been in many industries until I hit the rock bottom in my life, and I decided, okay, I want to help others, and I want to help others in a very deep way, which is working with the subconscious mind. 7 years ago, I moved to Canada from Ukraine, and it has been one of the most transformational experience for me, learning, diving deep into the different country, different culture. But at the same time, I grew so much in my mind and in my spirit. And people can find me on my website. If they want to work with me, they can book a consultation call. I am very active on social media. They can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and I have a very big YouTube channel where they can watch long content videos.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. And I must say, it warms my heart to have a fellow Canadian on the show because I'm from Toronto, Canada. So where are you from?
Calgary, Alberta.
Calgary. One of my childhood friends is out there. So beautiful place. I was there last year, April, for the first time. And it was absolutely beautiful. And I can't wait to go there and visit again. So welcome, fellow Canadian, welcome.
Thank you.
So let's start from the very beginning of your journey. How did you get into this and why is this something that you are doing today?
So, about 4 years ago, I realized that I'm kind of got to the point where nothing really works in my life. Having a great family, having an amazing relationship, having kids, I found out that why am I still not happy? What is missing? And so I went to see a psychologist, and it was a very beautiful experience. And I went on and on and on, and I realized like I'm just talking. I am talking and talking, and I really want to make some changes, but something was holding me back until I learned that what is holding me back is my subconscious mind, the 95% of my mind. And I'm working on 5% on analytical and logical mind. Of course, it's 10 out of 10. Your feelings mind is going to kind of win over. And so I decided to go deeper and look for methods and modalities that will help me. And one session, and I found it somehow by maybe it wasn't an accident. I don't believe in accidents, by the way. It was definitely, this experience was given to me, but I tried a hypnotherapy session, a specific method. I loved it, fell in love with it. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to help people. And I remember my husband was telling me all the time, Kate, you need to be a psychologist. You need to work with people. You're so good like connecting to them, like kind of building rapport with them. So please go. Well, for 10 years, I was kind of ignoring that idea. But when the pain became too strong, that's when we make real changes. And that's how I got into the hypnotherapy school. And I dived right into working with clients.
So for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about the hypnotherapy. What does it mean and what does it entail when someone is going through it and wants to discover it for themselves?
Yeah, so hypnotherapy has two directions. One is entertainment hypnosis. It's the one that you probably have seen on a show, Stampede show or some kind of cafes and bars and restaurants that do invite hypnotists to do the hypnosis for entertainment. And that's a completely different story from the healing therapeutic hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy is a journey that you go into yourself and you bypass that analytical mind because we know already. With analytical mind, we know everything. What we should do, what we shouldn't do, what we have to do, what we could do. We know that we have a full potential, that we are lovable, we are worthy. But as soon as the trigger comes, we kind of regress ourselves back to the limiting beliefs and feelings and emotions, triggers, reactions. And so, working in the hypnotherapy, which is a natural state of mind, the deepest hypnosis is asleep. So, when people say, I can't be hypnotized, I always tell them, well, you can sleep, right? Which means you can absolutely go into hypnosis. Everyone can be hypnotized because it's a natural state of mind. Daydreaming, watching Netflix without, when you're going like zoning out, sleeping, this meditations. All of these are altered state of consciousness. And that's where you go into the subconscious mind. And in the hypnotherapy, it's a deeper work with the triggers, trauma, the feelings that were suppressed long ago. So if people feel like, I don't get the result from inner work, from self-development, or from psychotherapy, traditional, psychoanalysis, it's good to explore an option that can go a little bit deeper. And you can absolutely look at the past with a different perspective. Because this is what happens. Subconscious mind doesn't know time. So it kind of keeps you triggered all the time. But once you go there and you look at your past events with a different perspective, that's when I'm not a child anymore. I don't have to do that anymore. It's like you told me before we started the recording, right? Like I came to peace with everything that happened in my life because I realized that I'm not a child and I'm not out of control, right? And I have a choice.
Yeah, there was a point, and I'm glad you mentioned that for those who weren't aware. Ken and I were talking offline before this, and I shared a story about my childhood, and I grew up without my mother or my father. And it came a point in my life that I had a conversation. I was like, Train, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Because sometimes you just can't be both.
Exactly.
So I said, I want to be happy. So some of the things that I was holding on to, I just let go for my own peace of mind. And Kate, you mentioned meditation. There's times where, because I do yoga, I do my stretches, right? And I meditate. I remember there was a time when I first started it, I used to like construct realities in my mind, right? And I used to just, as you mentioned, zone out, and I would actually close my eyes, focus in, and I would actually live a life that was a little bit alternate to what I go through in reality, right? Is that a part of the hypnotherapy?
Exactly. It actually tells a lot. Once you told me that, I realized that you have a very, very strong ability for visualization, which means the imagination is so rich, you can create so many different experiences in your mind. And if you direct your mind towards positive, which you did, towards positive experiences, you can recreate it in reality. So visualization, the law of attraction, all of that, people who have, and everyone can visualize, everyone. Some people forget that skill, but for you, it wasn't the case. You were able to go, it's like lucid dreaming, when you are in a dream and you actually realize, oh, I'm actually in a dream. I can do whatever I want here. So the same, right? The same. You were able to go so deep and you were able to visualize. And these people have an incredible power to manifest. So you're a lucky one. Well, not lucky, you worked towards it, but it's an incredible gift, to have that strong visualization. So that's as well a self-hypnosis.
There's a time, to be very honest, when I first started doing it, I thought I was losing my mind. Because it's not really, at least for me, it wasn't encouraged, right? It was something that was, okay, why are you living in your own mind? Are you trying to escape reality? But in a way, I think that helped me to cope with certain aspects of the reality I didn't like. Is that something that you would find true in situations like mine where I'm visualizing what I want to happen in an effort to cope with what is actually happening in my life?
I would say both. However, you can turn, usually, if you look at a lot of artists, they started to paint, or they started to listen music, they started to make music, they started to sing because they were in pain. They found the hobby because they were in pain, but it turned out to be the most incredible thing in their life. The same for you. Maybe it started as a way to cope with things, but it can turn out to be into your biggest seed for success. So, yes, we all start to do something and be very, very engaged in something because maybe the reality for now is too painful. And however, in the future, if you develop that skill, and if that's the beneficial skill, let's just say music, singing, art, creativity, right? Visualization. All of these are beneficial skills. If you develop it to the point of mastery, then it becomes your biggest seed for success and for happiness and for joy.
So when you're helping your clients deal with maybe some of the feelings, the emotions that they have, right? Like the guilt, the shame. What are some of the ways that you're helping them perhaps construct a life that they want and then make that life a reality so they're not feeling guilt, they're not feeling shame?
Yes. First of all, even before we go into the session, it's good to educate a client that guilt, shame, and blame are completely artificial feelings. They were not the emotions that we were born with. Like we were born with, we know what sadness is, what anger is, what grief is, what's happiness, joy, and content. But guilt, shame, and blame are socially imposed feelings, which means that we learned them and we can absolutely unlearn them. While sadness, we will have sadness. There will be moments in our life when we'll be sad. There will be moments when we will be frustrated, even angry and mad. And we'll be super excited, thrilled, and elated. But the guilt, shame, and blame are not our natural emotions. These are social emotions. So when I educate clients, they're like, oh, so it's like not mine. They detach. They detach from these feelings. Oh, these are actually, they're not supposed to be with me. And I can definitely work on that. You cannot eliminate sadness from your life. You cannot eliminate joy. It will always come because our mind is programmed for well-being. In the end, it's programmed for well-being. But you can definitely unlearn guilt. You will not forget about that feeling, but you can unlearn it. And so when we go into hypnosis, how they realize that it wasn't their fault, that the human being is doing best based on the experience they have, that they make choices in the moment. Because subconscious mind is super strong. It only knows now and here. So it will react and make choices based on what it knows at that moment. So there was no guilt, especially if people are carrying guilt from childhood. A child, it's not child's fault. But however, the family dynamic, the parents, the siblings, the teachers in school, yes, it can be imposed. So it's really important for realization. It has nothing to feel guilty about. Nothing that happened in childhood was anything of my fault. So to turn from the victim, from the feeling of fault, into the feeling of survivor and into the feeling of a master of your life. Yes, you were out of control. You were out of choices. You adopted every belief that was told to you. Whatever you decided, I'm not worthy. It's all my fault. It's all about me. I have to fix it. But when we grow up, this is where we actually have a choice, a voice, and we can control whatever is happening inside of us. So that's the biggest realization.
Those who are following along on Facebook, YouTube, and my social media, please subscribe and share for more incredible interviews like the one we have with Kate. And we will be back for more. So stay tuned.